Good morning, everybody. This is Jim Ransom bringing you another edition of poetry readings under the rubric Morning Jim Poetry. We've been reading a lot of modern poetry the past few weeks, so today we are turning the pages back to one of, and probably the best poet in the English language, William Shakespeare. His sonnets are among the best of his standalone poems, but we've read from them in the past. Today we're going to read one of his unrhymed iambic pentameter passages from a play. After some consideration, since there are many choices, I decided on the speech by Marc Antony from the play Julius Caesar. It is one of the most action-packed stories ever told by Shakespeare. Which was made up and interspersed with comments by the audience. To set the stage, Brutus, the leader of those who murdered Caesar, has given leave to Marc Antony, who was one of Caesar's close friends, but not a member of the cabal that murdered him. He's given leave to Marc Antony to provide a funeral oration for Caesar, and he has warned Marc Antony not to confront the murderers or suggest they have done anything wrong. We will see in this speech how cleverly Marc Antony turns the tables on Brutus. I will have to leave out all but a small sample of the Roman audience response to the speech, just to give it some sense of continuity. And here we go. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. The evil men do lives after them. The good is oft interred with their bones. So let it be with Caesar. The noble Brutus hath told you Caesar was ambitious. If it were so, it was a grievous fault, and grievously hath Caesar answered it. Here, under leave of Brutus and the rest, for Brutus is an honorable man, so are they all honorable men, come I to speak in Caesar's funeral. He was my friend, faithful and just to me. But Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. He hath brought many captives home to Rome. Caesar has, whose ransoms did the general coffers fill. Did this in Caesar seem ambitious? When that the poor have cried, Caesar hath wept. Ambition should be made of sterner stuff. Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and Brutus is an honorable man. You all did see that on the Lupercal I thrice presented Caesar with a kingly crown, which he did thrice refuse. Was this ambition? Yet Brutus says he was ambitious, and sure, he is an honorable man. I speak not to disprove what Brutus spoke, but here I am to speak what I do know. You all did love Caesar once, not without cause. What cause withholds you then to mourn for him? O judgment! Thou art fled to brutish beasts, and men have lost their reason. Bear with me. My heart is in the coffin there with Caesar, and I must pause till it come back to me. And here a citizen intervenes and says, methinks there is much reason in his sayings. And then Antony back again. But yesterday the word of Caesar might have stood against the world. Now lies he there, and none so poor to do him reverence. O masters, if I were disposed to stir your hearts and minds to mutiny and rage, I should do Brutus wrong and Cassius wrong, who, you all know, are honorable men. I will not do them wrong. I rather choose to wrong the dead, to wrong myself and you, than I will wrong such honorable men. But here's a parchment with the seal of Caesar. I found it in his closet. 'Tis his will. Let but the commons hear this testament, which, pardon me, I do not mean to read, and they would go and kiss dead Caesar's wounds and dip their napkins in his sacred blood, yea, beg a hair of him for memory, and dying, mention it within their wills, bequeathing it as a rich legacy unto their issue. Another citizen cries out, "We'll hear the will. Read it, Marc Antony. The will, the will." Antony, have patience, gentle friends. I must not read it. It is not meet you know how Caesar loved you. You are not wood, you are not stones, but men. And being men, hearing the will of Caesar, it will inflame you. It will make you mad. 'Tis good you know not that you are his heirs. For if you should, oh, what would come of it? Another citizen cries, "Read the will! We'll hear it, Antony." Antony says, "Will you be patient? Will you stay a while? I have o'ershot myself to tell you of it. I fear I wrong the honorable men whose daggers have stabbed Caesar. I do fear it." And the fourth citizen cries out, "They are not honorable men." Good friends, sweet friends, let me not stir you up to such a sudden flood of mutiny. They that have done this deed are honorable. What private griefs they have, alas, I know not. That made them do it. They are wise and honorable, and will, no doubt, with reasons answer you. I come not, friends, to steal away your hearts. I'm no orator, as Brutus is, but as you know me all, a plain, blunt man that love my friend, and that they know full well that gave me public leave to speak of him. For I have neither wit nor words nor worth, action nor utterance, nor power of speech to stir men's blood. I only speak right on. I tell you that which you yourselves do know. Show you sweet Caesar's wounds. Poor dumb mouths, and bid them speak for me. But were I Brutus, and Brutus Antony, there were an Antony would ruffle up your spirits, and put a tongue in every wound of Caesar that should move the stones of Rome to rise and mutiny. And then the crowd cries, "We'll mutiny." They were traitors, honorable men. They were villains, murderers. The will, read the will. And Antony says, "You will compel me then to read the will? Then make a ring about the corpse of Caesar, and let me show you him that made the will. Let me descend from the dais, and will you give me leave Come down, they say. Descend, the crowd cries. You shall have leave. And then Antony comes down from the high place where he's been speaking. And he says, if you have tears, prepare to shed them now. You all do know this mantle. I remember the first time Caesar put it on. It was on a summer's evening in his tent, the day he overcame the nervii. Look, in this place ran Cassius' dagger through. See what a rent the envious Casca made. Through this the well-beloved Brutus stabbed, and as he plucked his cursed steel away, mark how the blood of Caesar followed it, as rushing out of doors to be resolved, if Brutus so unkindly knocked or no. For Brutus, as you know, was Caesar's angel. Judge, O gods, how dearly Caesar loved him. This was the most unkindest cut of all. For when the noble Caesar saw him stab, ingratitude more strong than traitor's arms quite vanquished him. Then burst his mighty heart, and in his mantle muffling up his face, even at the base of Pompey's statue, which all the while ran blood, great Caesar fell. Oh, what a fall was there, my countrymen! Then I and you and all of us fell down, whilst bloody treason flourished over us. Oh, now you weep, and I perceive you feel the din of pity. These are gracious drops, kind souls. What? Weep you when you but behold our Caesar's vesture wounded? Look you here. Here is himself marred, as you see, with traitors. And at that point, he pulls back the cape that covered Caesar. And then the crowd starts hollering, "Oh, piteous spectacle! Oh, noble Caesar! Oh, woeful day!" and more. And they cry out for revenge. And Antony says, "Why, friends, you go to do you know not what? Wherein hath Caesar deserved your loves? Alas, you know not. You have forgot the will I told you of." And the crowd says, "Oh, most true, the will. Let us stay and hear the will." And Antony waves it about and says, "Here is the will, and under Caesar's seal, to every Roman citizen he gives, to every several man, 75 drachmas. And the citizens cry, "Most noble Caesar will revenge his death." And Antony says, "Hear me with patience. Moreover, he hath left you all his walks, his private arbors, and new planted orchards on this side Tiber. He has left them you, and to your heirs forever, common pleasures, to walk abroad and recreate yourselves. Here was a Caesar. When comes such another?" And at that point, the crowd goes crazy. "Never, never! We'll burn his body in the holy place, and with the brands fire the traitors' houses." Well, that's a very powerful speech. I don't think we've heard one like that in modern times. At least not one crying out for vengeance like this one does. Okay. Let me find my program here. Yeah, it's here someplace, I know. Oh, where are you? Oh, here it is. I think, as you can see, this is one of the passages from Shakespeare that's best read aloud, as I mentioned earlier. And whenever I read it, I find myself reading it out loud, not necessarily in a busy library, but almost any place else. To get the full effect, best of all, go to a movie or a play featuring these speeches done by real actors. It can be breathtaking, even in our modern age, when we imagine we've already seen everything. We haven't. Hope you enjoyed today's passage from Shakespeare. Next week, we'll wander back to modern poetry in some form, remembering that everything in the past 100 years or so is modern. Keep that in mind, because it may not be 21st century poetry that I give you next week. Okay, I hope you'll come back and listen again next week. Bye now.